then I am easy with you.
After all, you know, we're respectable citizens and not criminals.
Sometimes there isn't much difference as you may think, Mr. Croft. Often, if it was left to me, I wouldn't know where to draw the line.
Fortunately, it isn't left to you, is it?
No, but some things are left to me. Inquiries of this sort, for instance. Well, Miss Berling?
You knew it was me all the time, didn't you?
I had an idea it might be, from something the girl once wrote.
I've told my father. He didn't seem to think it amounted to much, but I felt rotten about it at the time, and now I feel a lot worse. Did it make much of a difference to her?
Yes, I'm afraid it did. It was the last real job she had, and when she lost it, for no reason that she could discover, she felt she'd have to try some other kind of life.
So I'm really responsible?
No, not entirely. A good deal happened to her after that, but you're partly to blame, just as your father is.
But what did Sheila do?
I went to the manager at Millwoods and I told him if they didn't get rid of that girl, I'd never go near the place, and I persuaded Mummy to close our account with them.
And why did you do that?
Because I was in a furious temper.
And what had the girl done to make you lose your temper?
When I was looking at myself in the mirror, I caught sight of her smiling at the assistant, and I was furious with her. I'd been in a bad temper anyhow.
Was it the girl's fault?
No, not really. It was my own fault. All right, Gerald, you needn't look at me like that. At least I'm trying to tell the truth. I expect you've done things you're ashamed of too.
Well, I never said I hadn't, and I don't see
Never
why...
mind about that. You can settle that between you afterwards. What happened?
I'd gone in to try something on. It was an idea of my own. Mummy had been against it from the start, as had the shop assistant. But I insisted. As soon as I tried it on, I knew they'd been right all along. It just didn't suit me at all. I looked silly in the thing. Well, this girl had brought the dress up from the workroom, and when the shop assistant, Miss Frances, had asked us something about it, this girl, to show us what she meant, had held the dress up as if she was wearing it, and it just suited her. She was the right type for it, just as I was the wrong type. She was a very pretty girl too, with big dark eyes, and that didn't make it any better. When I tried the thing on and looked at myself, I knew it was all wrong. I caught sight of this girl smiling at Miss Frances as if to say, "Doesn't she look awful?" I was absolutely furious. I was very rude to them both and stormed into the manager's office and told him that this girl had been very impertinent and... Well, how was I to know what would happen to her? If she'd been some miserable, plain-looking creature, I don't suppose I'd have done it. But she was very pretty and looked as if she could take care of herself. I couldn't be sorry for her.
In fact, in a kind of way, you may be said to have been jealous of her.
Yes, I suppose so.
And so you used the power you had, as a daughter of a good customer, and of a man well known in the town, to punish the girl just because she made you feel like that.
Yes, but it didn't seem to be anything very terrible at the time. Don't you understand? And if I could help her now, I would.
Yes, but you can't. It's too late. She's dead.
My God, it's a bit thick when you come to think
Oh,
of
shut
it.
up, Eric. I know. It's the only time I've ever done anything like this, and I'll never do it again to anybody. I've noticed them give me a sort of look sometime at Millwoods. I noticed it this afternoon. I suppose some of them remember. I feel I can never go there again. Oh, why this had to happen?
That's what I asked myself tonight, when I was in the infirmary looking at the dead girl. And then I said to myself, well, we'll try to understand why this had to happen. And that's why I'm here. And why I'm not going until I know all that happened. Eva Smith left Burling and Company because the strike failed, and she was determined not to have another one. At last she found herself another job. Under what name? I don't know, but in a big shop. And she had to leave there because you were annoyed with yourself. You passed that annoyance on to her. Now she had to try something else. And so first, she changed her name to Daisy Renton.
What?
I said she changed her name to Daisy Renton.
Do you mind if I get myself a drink, Sheila?
Where is your father, Miss Burling?
He went into the drawing room to tell my mother what was happening here. Eric, take the inspector along to the drawing room. Well, Gerald?
Well, what, Sheila?
How did you come to know this girl, Eva Smith?
I didn't.
Well, Daisy Renton then. It's the same thing.
Why should I have known her?
Oh, don't be stupid. We haven't much time. You gave yourself away as soon as he mentioned her other name.
All right, I knew her. Let's leave it at that.
We can't leave it at that.
Now listen, darling.
No, that's no use. You not only knew her, but you knew her very well. Otherwise you wouldn't look so guilty about it. When did you first get to know her? Was it after she left Millwards, changed her name, as he said, and began to lead a different sort of life? Were you seeing her last spring and summer during the time when you hardly came near me and said you were too busy? Were you? Yes, of course you were.
I'm sorry, Sheila, but it was all over and done with last summer. I hadn't set eyes on the girl for at least 6 months. I don't come into this suicide business.
I thought I didn't half an hour ago.
You don't. Neither of us does. So for God's sake, don't say anything to the inspector.
About you and this girl?
Yes, we can keep it from him.
Why, you fool. He knows. Of course he knows. And I'd hate to think how much he knows that we don't know yet. You'll see. You'll see.
Well? Well?
You see? What did I tell you?
What did you tell him?
Inspector, I think Miss Burling ought to be excused any more of this questioning. She's nothing more to tell you. She's had a long, exciting and tiring day. We were celebrating our engagement, you know. And now she's obviously had about as much as she can stand. You heard her.
He means I'm getting hysterical now.
And are you?
Probably.
Well, I don't want to keep you here. I've no more questions to ask you.
No, but you haven't finished asking questions, have you?
No.
You see? Then I'm staying.
Why should you? It's bound to be unpleasant and disturbing.
And you think young women ought to be protected against unpleasant and disturbing things?
If possible, yes.
Well, we know one young woman who wasn't, don't we?
I suppose I asked for that.
Careful you don't ask for any more, Gerald.
I only meant to say to you, why stay when you'll hate it?
It can't be any worse for me than it has been. And it might be better.
I see.
What do you see?
You've been through it, and now you want to see somebody else put through it.
So that's what you really think I'm like? I'm glad I realised in time, Gerald.
No, I didn't mean...
Yes, you did. And if you really loved me, you couldn't have said that. You listened to that nice little story about how I got that girl fired from Millwards, and now you've made up your mind that I'm obviously some sort of horrible, selfish, vindictive creature.
I neither said that nor even suggested it.
Then why say I want to see someone else put through it? That's not what I meant at all.
All right then, I'm sorry.
Yes, but you don't believe me. And now is just the wrong time not to believe me.
Allow me, Miss Burling. I can tell you why Miss Burling wants to stay and why she thinks it would be better for her if she did. A young girl died tonight. A pretty lively sort of girl who never did anybody any harm. And yet she died in misery and agony, hating life.
Don't, please. I know.
Now Miss Burling has just been made to understand what she did to this girl. She feels responsible and she feels she's entirely to blame. And if she leaves us now and doesn't hear any more, she'll feel she's entirely to blame. She'll be responsible the rest of tonight, all tomorrow, all of the next night.
Yes, that's it. And I know I'm to blame, and I'm desperately sorry, but I can't believe, I won't believe. It's simply my fault in the end that she committed suicide. That would be too horrible.
You see, we have to share something. There's nothing else. We'll have to share our guilt.
Yes, that's true, you know. I don't understand about you.
There's no reason why you should.
Good evening, Inspector.
Good evening, madam.
I'm Mrs. Burling, you know. My husband has just explained why you're here, and while we'd be glad to tell you anything you want to know, I don't think we can help you much.
No, Mother, please.
What's the matter, Sheila?
I know it sounds silly.
What does?
You see, I feel you're beginning all wrong, and I'm afraid you'll say something or do something you'll be sorry for afterwards.
I don't know what you're talking about, Sheila.
We all started like that, so confident, so pleased with ourselves, until he began asking us questions.
You seem to have made a great impression on this child, Inspector.
We often do on the young ones. They're more impressionable.
You're looking tired, dear. I think you ought to go to bed and forget about this absurd business. You'll feel better in the morning.
Mother, I couldn't possibly go. Nothing could be worse for me. We've settled all that. I'm staying here until I know why that girl killed herself.
Nothing but morbid curiosity.
No, it isn't.
Please don't contradict me like that. In any case, I don't suppose for a moment that we can understand why the girl committed suicide. Girls of that class
Mother, don't. Please don't. For your own sake as well as ours, you mustn't.
Mustn't? What? Really, Sheila?
You mustn't try to build up a kind of wall between us and that girl. If you do, the inspector will just break it down, and it'll be all the worse when he does.
I don't understand you. Do you?
Yes, and she's right.
I beg your pardon?